Welcome to the Wisconsin Music Podcast.
On this episode of the Wisconsin Music Podcast, join me, Zach Fell, as I sit down with David Ofori Anim, better known as Oye Beats. Based in the vibrant Madison area, Oye Beats has been producing music since the age of 15 and is recognized for his unique blends of R&B and hip-hop with a flair of genre fusion that captivates his listeners. His journey into music began at just 14 years old with recording, and since then, he's transformed his passion into a thriving career. Recently, Oye Beats achieved a major milestone by winning the 2024 Big Beat MKE Tournament. In addition to these achievements, Oye Beats is also making moves in the sync licensing world, aiming to get his music featured in various media with a private studio in Madison, Oye Studios. Oye Beats is ready to collaborate with fellow artists and continue creating captive music. So tune in to hear more about his journey, his future projects, and what makes his sound stand out in today's music. New episodes drop every Tuesday, and past episodes air on Fox Cities Indie Radio on Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Sunday at 3 p.m. Let's dive into the world of Oye Beats and his incredible story. So, Oye, welcome to the Wisconsin Music Podcast.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. So, I kind of talked about you getting into recording music when you were 14. Kind of let the listeners know what exactly that entailed. How did this all come about for you?
Yeah, so when I really first started out doing music, when I wanted to take it seriously, I started recording my raps that I would write. And I, had a friend that had a lot of studio equipment. So I just go up the street to his place and lay down whatever I had at the time. And from there, I just started, wanting to learn more and more about actually recording. So that's kind of like just how I got my start in there. And from there, it kind of led to me wanting to learn more about production and putting things together like that.
Excellent. So, what have you learned? I don't know how old you are, but obviously you've been doing this for more than, I would think, 10 years or right around there. What have you learned over the last decade plus about producing the music that you do?
Really, I've learned a lot more when it comes to mixing.
Okay.
And the aspects of just making sure you have a good mix, because a good mix or bad mix can change the output of an entire song. But so I would say I've learned a lot when it comes to that, but there's still so much that I don't know. And production is just changing more and more every day, especially with it's just becoming more and more accessible and easier to basically put things together.
Right. So when you say you work more with mixing, so for listeners, that's more like, I would think for you would be balancing between the beats and the flow over it. Is that what you're talking about mostly?
Oh yeah, and like as far as mixing drums or sounds when it comes to a beat, or anything that comes to the production.
Okay. And then when you create a piece, what comes first, or is it kind of 50-50? Like, does the beat come first? Does the words come first? How does it work for you?
A lot of times I'll have just a beat that I already made, and then I'll end up coming up with the flow. But sometimes when I'm making a beat, I'll kind of freestyle to it, or kind of get a vibe going to kind of get an idea on what direction I should go with the beat.
Okay.
So it can vary, and but I would say like 9 times out of 10, I'm starting with the beat first, then the words.
Okay. And do you have like a main topic that you usually like to express about, or is there multiple things that you like to hit on?
Yeah, so I like to touch on multiple things whenever it comes to writing, because you never know what the beat is gonna like strike in you or bring out as far as emotion, or you might hear a beat that makes you want to dance, and so you might want to put together something about dancing. Or you might hear a beat that really brings out like sad emotions or something. So you might write something really emotional to it. And that is kind of like my approach to it. I just kind of like to go with whatever the beat is making me feel.
Gotcha. Cool. Very cool. Now, during this time of, building yourself up and getting better at your art, you finally got to the point where you won that award this year. Why don't you talk a little bit about the journey from when you first kind of knew about this to actually winning this year?
Big Beat MKE has been, on my radar since I want to say 2021. I'd been out here for a few years in Milwaukee, and I was just looking to do more with my music and kind of get on the music scene, because I started hearing things here and there and starting to see the music scene. I heard about that event, and it happened to be an amazing show. The first time I'd ever seen something like that, in this kind of decade, especially after COVID, when things were just opening up. So I went there basically a couple years in a row, kind of just getting a feel for it, kind of seeing what they were looking for and like what kind of things would, it was more or less just inspiring and making me more and more want to get involved with it and kind of throw my hat in the ring, so to speak. So yeah, after just talking with Alan Hallis, who runs Breaking and Entering and puts that event together,
Yeah.
just told me the process of trying out for it. And so yeah, once I got in it, it was just exactly what I expected, but even more inspiring, because it brought out a different side of me as a producer. I can honestly say uh I tried some new things and got very experimental while I was in the battle. So
Can you expand on that? What elevated your performance?
yeah, when I first got into it, there's a lot of people that I don't know, maybe could use some beats that they had already made, but I kind of like the idea of creating something new for each battle. And I would say that there's basically certain aspects that I wouldn't really expect to go together, or I didn't expect to go together, that just fit so well that it actually just inspired me to try different genres, like uh just messing around with funk and hip hop, and like funk and trap even, or taking some R&B vocals and putting them to some brass and the craziest drums, but having it come out to being the perfect storm in a way.
Nice.
It was all just kind of like very inspiring to try new things, and no stone unturned in that way.
Excellent. Very cool.
Hey, Wisconsin Music Podcast listeners. Are you looking to elevate your music with a personal touch? Let me introduce you to ZTF Studio, where your sound finds its true home. At ZTF Studio, we create more than just great recordings. We create an experience. Our cozy, home-based studio in Southeast Wisconsin is designed to make you feel comfortable and inspired. Imagine walking into a space where your music is treated with the same care and passion you put into it. With over 20 years of experience, we know how to bring out the best in your sound. Whether you're a solo artist or a full band, you'll get personalized attention and expert guidance every step of the way. We blend technical expertise with a warm, welcoming vibe to make your recording sessions enjoyable and productive. So, come on in, grab a cup of coffee, and let's make your next crowd pleaser together. Visit ztfstudio.com to book a conversation with Zach about your vision for your next project. ZTF Studio, where your sound feels at home. Now, back to our amazing guest.
So, like I said in the opening, you use a lot of fusing different genres together, and I think that's kind of what I see is happening with music now. Is we have all this access to different kinds of music from early days of recording to today, and people can just search something on a streaming site and just start listening to stuff that maybe 20 years ago we couldn't really get our hands on as easily, and now we can start combining this up, and maybe hopefully a new type of music kind of grows out of all this fusion. I don't know what your thoughts would be on that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely becoming more. People are showing more of that freedom and being a little more bold and less afraid to cross those lines. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily seem as restricted as it probably once was, and I love to see it. I love to see that, you know, people are becoming more and more experimental with music in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's creativity in basically what that is just grabbing everything that's kind of influencing you at that moment and trying to create something out of that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Let me get one of them away beats.
So let's kind of go back a little bit and kind of talk about things that have inspired you over, the years of being a creative. So who are like some of the artists that, that you've basically been drawn to that have influenced you in different ways?
Um, right at the top of the list, I would say, as far as producers, Timbaland and Kanye West have been like two of my all-time favorite producers. But the list goes on for producers like people that you might not even really hear about in regular conversations about producers, like Most Def and like DJ Dahi and even Mac Miller. Those were some of the artists that were multifaceted that could actually produce their song from scratch as well. But one of my major inspirations and like just learning more, making me want to learn more about music and learning instrumentation and reading music, was Prince. Prince was one of the
Nice.
greatest when it comes to actually being an artist,
Yeah.
and like a well-rounded artist. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's an understatement to really just say artist, but he can pick up any instrument in the studio and rock out
Yep.
and put his pen to some paper and give you one of the greatest songs. And yeah, I've always loved that and kind of saw myself in a way as that type of person where I just want to be able to make great things no matter what I'm doing. If I'm writing to it, you know, or if I'm putting a beat together, or you know, I might play a piano tune that sounds crazy or something.
Yeah.
So
Excellent. Excellent. So, do you play multiple instruments?
right now I'm teaching myself piano and guitar. It's a very slow process on guitar, but I'm getting a little bit better each day on piano. I want to learn the drums one day. I want to learn, you know, I might even dabble with a flute or a, you know, some actual woodwind
Yeah.
one day too. Cause you know, I've always loved how you can just the slightest thing. You might end up trying a triangle one day in a song and it might be exactly what you needed.
Right. Exactly. Excellent. Excellent. So, obviously, you're out there performing for live audiences and things like that. So, if someone comes to your show, what do you hope they would see up there on stage when you come up and do your show?
I would hope that they see me for who I am and the art for, you know, however you know, I want them to see it in its purest form. And I want them to get the rawest version of me, you know, on stage. I'm working on doing some stuff with my brother, who's really, you know, a very big inspiration to me as far as an artist in music as well. And I just can't wait to see, you know, that light shine, you know, soon.
Or you're working with your brother. What are you kind of seeing in the next maybe 2 to 3 years with with your brother?
Well, hopefully just, you know, some of the craziest collaboration that we've been waiting to release. Me and him have always worked closely when it comes to music. He's an amazing writer and producer as well. But hopefully see more of our collaborations come to fruition and actually like you know, get released on some streaming services very soon actually. You know, because I've always liked the idea of just, you know, dabbling in doing some EPs and kind of like getting a feel for what people actually gravitate towards as far as the art, and kind of like using that to maybe see what, because you know, using that to kind of gauge what, you know, you can tap into the most. Because when it comes to music, like I tend to keep a lot of stuff to myself, and you know, I want to get more with releasing to for the people, you know, so I can
Right.
actually get real feedback.
Gotcha. When you're out performing and you're talking with, people that came to see your show, or you've gone to shows and you kind of looked at the audience, what have some of the things that you've seen that's positive and things that are kind of a struggle for the artist?
uh you know, it's a double-edged sword with the crowd reaction. I've seen sometimes where you get a crowd that, you know, it's fully in tune and they're invested and they're actually like holding on to every word and actually like want more. But you know, it's not at every show. And then you do get the other side of that where, you know, some people, your music isn't for everybody, and you just happen to get some people that, or more the majority of people that, you know, that are not in tune with that type of music. And so it kind of, it can make or break the night. But you know,
Yeah.
as long as you handle it or react right, you know, it won't make or break your career. And you can use that as, you know, feedback, and kind of like just kind of gauge your venue, you know, or performance setup and things like that. So
Gotcha. And then do you feel that you grow more as an artist when you have an off night or when you have a great night?
um I think for me personally, when I have a great night, um because then I kind of know, I work better with knowing which way to go and that way. And you know, until you, I mean, and so a bad night may be beneficial as well, just may not be as beneficial as a great night for me. Because then yeah, it would either help or like it could be discouraging in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. And so, also speaking of, you being not just an artist on the stage, but you have your own studio. Now, is that opened up to other artists to come in, or is it more just something that you've put together for yourself?
Yeah, so it started out as something that I put together for myself, but recently I've been trying to open it up more to those who need a space to record because I end up running to countless, number of people that have the talent and the drive, just no place to actually record. And I've always wanted to help people the way I was helped out when I had the talent and the drive, just no place to record. So
Right.
it's always been a thing to me to want to give back in that way because I know how it's not as easy to be able to get equipment. Not everybody can afford studio equipment or studio time.
Right.
So yeah, just want to help out in that way. And although I'm not free, I am very affordable and I'm willing to work with anybody who's willing to invest in themselves.
Right.
So
So, are you more like for people that kind of stay within what you do, or is it more for you could also have like maybe like people that play live instruments come in or something of that nature?
yeah, I've definitely done a little bit of both. I've definitely recorded just some tracking for guitar before, and I've had people that only wanted to do 2-track vocals and just using whatever beat they have. But I also get very hands on and very hands in the mix as far as mixing, and I try to do a little bit of mastering as well. I've just got to learn a lot more there. So I'm willing to work with anybody really.
Okay, cool. And then the next thing is there might be some people out there listening to this going, this is something that they want to do, but they're not quite sure where to start. So what advice would you give someone just starting out and trying to pursue something similar to what you do?
Use what you have where you are. I think that's somebody that I think that's Thomas Jefferson that made that quote. But like that's a real thing because there's been times where I didn't have anything to make beats, but I was still able to make a beat. Like if I didn't have a laptop, I was able to do it on a phone. If I didn't have a phone, I was able to go to the library and use one of their computers and go online and make it that way. But don't let that hold you back. And also stand behind what you make because nobody else is going to actually like what you do or at least express that to you if you don't like it first.
Yeah,
So,
right.
and that definitely was one of the things that was very helpful to me during the Big Beat battle. Because, you know, a lot of the beats that I actually ended up taking up there were ones that, once I made them, I still was kind of nervous about playing that in front of a crowd of people. But
Mm-hmm.
somehow I overcame that and kind of really just kind of gave them a good listen. And I was fully confident by the time I was up there on the stage.
Nice.
So, just be confident.
Excellent. Yeah, that's great advice. And then going forward for that, now you've won Big Beat. What has anything really changed your direction of you, or are you more opportunities have opened up for you? What's kind of happened since then?
A couple of a couple more opportunities definitely opened up immediately after me winning the Big Beat 2024 battle. I actually ended up getting to showcase my beats in another beat battle ran by Breaking and Entering in Summerfest on the Whammy stage, which was really dope. Like that was
Nice.
amazing. My first time ever being able to. That was my first time really going to Summerfest, let alone ever being able to perform at Summerfest. So that was amazing. And then immediately after that, I began working with Christopher Godzilla Taylor, to work on a project as a producer group. And the project is called Live by the Track, Die by the Track. And our group that we've called ourselves as the Milwaukee Music Cartel. So we kind of come together, a bunch of producers, a lot of them never actually even rapped before, but came together and started rapping to the beats uh, that we all had together that were like beat battle beats.
Okay.
And that was a really amazing opportunity, being able to come into Godzilla Studio, kind of really rusty as far as rapping goes, but he just brought something out of everybody in the room and challenged us all to be able to bring a different side of us out and, in that moment become MCs. And yeah, that was one of the many opportunities that opened up for me after the Big Beat. But since they hold it every year, I'm hoping to be able to get in it next year as well.
Okay. Yeah, well, let us know how that goes. I mean, I'll be watching that as well, but hopefully, you have success with that again. Now, what do you see for your artist's career path over the next 5 years? I know you talked about working with your brother, but what bigger picture? What are you kind of hoping to see?
Bigger picture, hoping to be able to be more on streaming platforms and actually doing the numbers and actually kind of just getting out there more, putting my foot more than just in the door. I'm trying to be in the house, sitting on the couch. Yeah, like just being more expressive with my music, and also hoping to reach more people with it, and be more intentional as well.
Gotcha. And then, on a little side note here, I know you talked about creating your own beats, but maybe there's people out there that's not really their thing, but they like to buy beats or something to that effect. What is your thoughts on making your own beats compared to buying other people's beats? Do you have an opinion
I
on that?
think that to each his own. I also think that there's a lot of people that they actually work better as just writing. They work better with other producers, and like uh I just definitely think that it's one of those things that don't let pride hold you back from being open to trying other things and letting other people shine, because at the end of the day, if one of us makes it, we all make it. I know that's cliche, but it's like, yeah, I'm very comfortable with just playing the back seat sometimes and letting other people shine, because sometimes all they need is just that assist.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the reasons why I really want to give back as well, because, who knows where I would be if nobody ever helped me out.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Now, of course, with any creative endeavor, there's always a business side to it, and there's always the shady side of it. Have you experienced any of that shady side? And if so, what advice do you give people to try to avoid that as much as possible?
Well, I'll touch early on about 2008, when I was like really thinking that I was gonna break within a few days. If you ask me at that time,
Yeah.
I called myself signing a record deal with a small group that call themselves putting together a record company, and it just did not pan out the way I had originally thought it, and it was mostly because I just didn't know enough about the business and just didn't really do enough research on my own at that time. And I would just, if I could advise anybody else, to just make sure that you know what you're signing and just do your research. Do your research on your own. And because it's not to say that record labels or record deals aren't the thing, because I know everybody wants to be independent now, but sometimes record deals can work for you if you can make it work for you. You just have to make sure that you know what you're signing.
Right, exactly. Good advice there. Now, I usually ask, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give yourself? But I kind of have a feeling that that's kind of like what advice you probably would give yourself is
Oh yeah.
research and make sure you know what you're signing.
Yeah, and I would tell myself to be more confident, to believe in what you're making, because it's going to take you places. It's going to do the things that you've always dreamed you would do. So, yeah.
Excellent, excellent. That's about all the questions I have for you. Is there anything you'd like to talk about before we end this conversation?
No, I just want to, I guess, tell everybody that I can be reached on Instagram easiest. OA Beats underscore is the Instagram. Other than that, you heard the email if you're looking at booking any studio time. But yeah, I think we touched on a lot today. And once again, I want to thank you for having me on the show, man.
Oh, I appreciate you coming on. It's people like you that helps make the show grow, and people, listening in and, just spreading the word so we can try to, get all the artists in Wisconsin, more clarity to the people out there.
Yeah, I like what you're doing, man. Keep up the good work because, we need people like you to, like you said, help spread the word and get people, you never know who's listening.
Right.
And, the more people that's listening, that's just one more follower. You never know.
Exactly. Oye, thank you so much for being on the Wisconsin Music Podcast. Once again, it was great, learning more about you and, your story, and I hope the listeners enjoyed that as well. And other than that, I'll make sure all your information is in the podcast description, and I'll let you know when I put this out. I'm looking at probably, we're at almost mid-September already. I can't believe we're this late in the year already.
Years flying by.
Yeah, I would say probably close to Halloween-ish. Unless you want,
okay.
Unless you have some major shows coming up before then, I can probably put this out a little bit earlier.
I don't think I have anything coming up before Halloween anyway. So
okay, all right. And then, do you have a website or anything, or is it mostly Instagram?
It's mostly Instagram. I do have a link tree on my Instagram that has like my beat stars where people can take a look at beats that I have posted online, my SoundCloud.
Okay.
And they can buy beats there. And if you I don't know if you need me to send you like a beat snippet or something that could play or something like that.
Yeah, if there's any performances that you have recorded in studio or live that you would like me to put in the podcast, just send that to me and I'll weave it in there.
All right, sounds good, man. Thanks again.
All right, thanks, Oye. Appreciate it, and we'll talk soon, hopefully.
All right, see you.
All right, bye. Well, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the Wisconsin Music Podcast. Once again, I'm Zach Fell, your host and creator of the Wisconsin Music Podcast, where I love to amplify the great sounds coming out of the Wisconsin state. We have great talent here, great support, great listeners. Thanks to Fox Cities Indie Radio for syndicating this on Thursdays and Sundays, along with their other great programming. So make sure you check out the Fox Cities Indie Radio. Thanks again to Oye Beats for being on the podcast this week. Congratulations to his win at the Big Beat MKE, which was hosted by Breaking and Entering. Just overall great guy. Great stuff going on with him and his music world. So check him out. And if you're in need of recording, check him out as well. For those of you who are new to our show, the Wisconsin Music Podcast is dedicated to showcasing the incredible talent of Wisconsin-based musicians and the thriving local music community. Our episodes drop every Tuesday on all streaming platforms and YouTube. Additionally, you can catch our episodes on Fox Cities Indie Radio every Thursday at 6 p.m. and Sunday at 3 p.m. If you'd like to be on the show, just go to wisconsinmusicpodcast.com, fill out the guest request form up at the top, ask for your email and your name, and then I'll send you an auto email asking you for more information. If you are enjoying these episodes, please consider donating to the Wisconsin Music Podcast. Donations help pay for the website and putting the podcast up on streaming services, and also getting our name out there to all Wisconsinites and others that are interested in our great music here in Wisconsin. Donations are secure through PayPal and Stripe. All you have to do is go to the website and click on Donate to WMP. You can also head over to our Instagram and Facebook pages and like us there. Leave some comments. Also go to the podcast review section of your podcast player and leave a 5-star review. Would be great. You can also head over to YouTube and watch the interviews and leave comments there as well. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you next time.